Do you remember when Environment and Climate Change Minister Catherine McKenna sent a tweet thanking Syria for signing on to the Paris Accord on climate change, and then in the face of overwhelming backlash, she blamed her department staff for the crazy tweet? Well, I've got the full story now and exclusive documents to show you the excuse McKenna gave is not entirely true. Well, climate change fear-mongering is back in the news once again, with the United Nations giving us just 12 short years before we all die or approach our agonizing death at the hands of climate change. The histrionic prediction of my impending death is actually perfect timing for me because I just got back a stack of access to information documents from the Federal Environment Ministry. Remember when Catherine McKenna thought that chemical weapons are hot but carbon dioxide is not? She sent out a tweet last November praising Syria for signing on to the Paris Accord. Canada salutes Nicaragua and Syria for joining on to the Paris Agreement, global climate action. Anyway, the tweet spawned immediate backlash and international embarrassment for us Canadians. McKenna was condemned and mocked for her misplaced priorities of carbon taxes and climate change fear-mongering over very real human rights abuses like using chemical weapons against civilians happening at the hands of the Assad regime. McKenna said that it was clearly a mistake from her department Twitter. She tweeted that the Liberals have made it clear that the murderous Assad regime must end attacks against its people. McKenna threw her Environment and Climate Change Department staff right under the bus, and the complacent news media just took her at her word that this tweet was entirely just some sort of accident. But I'm no stenographer for the Liberal Party of Canada, so I dug a little deeper into this mess. I can tell you that Catherine McKenna wasn't exactly forthright when she denied knowledge of the tweet, and at The Rebel, we now have the exclusive documents from within McKenna's own ministry to prove it. Let's jump right in. The paper trail for this one tweet is astounding. It's massive. Right here at the beginning of this 174-page stack of documents, page 4 confirms that this murderer-praising tweet was planned and approved from the beginning. It's on the ministry planned tweet calendar, scheduled to go out at November 7th at 2 p.m. Let's go to page 6 now. This is the first time we see the MO, or the minister's office, expressing concerns about the Syria tweet. But look up there at the subject line. They're worried about social media mistakes in the French language translation of the tweet. No objections from anyone on that email chain about congratulating Syria. Their only concern was that the French verb tense was accurate. Imagine being that tone deaf and swept up in global warming hysteria that you turn off the logic switch in your brain for this sort of stuff. Later on page 41, the bureaucrats actually think they're in the clear because no one has commented on the French tweet. And you'll remember that was the only thing that they flagged as a potential problem going forward. On page 48, here they start to prepare talking points because they suddenly realize they're in a little bit of a pickle with this tweet. So they start workshopping ways to spin the issue of congratulating Syria. Oh, and about Minister McKenna's assertion that she didn't have any clue about what was going on here, here's the chronology of the tweet on page 49. It was requested, approved, and posted with times. It was no accident. It was scripted and planned from the very beginning. On page 50 of this Access to Information document, we see confirmation that McKenna's office approved the tweet directly. Right here in the email underneath, assessment. The tweet in question was approved by the minister's office at 2:09 p.m. today and issued at 3 p.m. This next part of the email, though, is very telling of this Liberal government and their mentality. On the matter of the Paris Agreement participation, the majority of Twitter and other media activity, BBC, CNN, New York Times, and others, was focused on the U.S. being the only country opposed to the deal. For example, Even Syria has signed the Paris Agreement, leaving the US and Trump isolated. So the Environment Minister's office thought everything was fine with their pro-Syria tweet because the liberal media and the majority of liberal Twitter don't seem to like Trump. That was their gut check here. That's the bubble that people working in Ottawa exist in. They think that the liberal mainstream media and the Twitter outrage mob are somehow reflective of normal people's opinions. And that, my friends, is how they got Donald Trump and a bunch of crying liberals who still think Hillary Clinton should have won the election. Now, the email goes on to express concern that numerous tweets refer to the minister as Climate Barbie, which, as you know, pleases me greatly. That there are a bunch of bureaucrats worried about the snarky nickname I gave the Minister of Environment and Climate Change. I'm in the bloodstream now. Page 70 of the document package shows us that bureaucrats are paid by the taxpayer to track all of Catherine McKenna's mentions on Twitter. Page 94, Christina Gwinnett again gives an explanation of the origin of the pro-Assad tweet. Julie Boucher drafted the tweet. It was reviewed by the home team and social media team, and I approved the tweet. The approved tweet then received approval from the minister's office and was posted within the hour. The directive to praise the Assad regime came directly through Catherine McKenna's office. In fact, they had the final approval for the tweet. Look how much time and how many taxpayer-funded bureaucrats wasted precious time and government resources on this lunacy. The fact that this tweet was made at all in the first place and that they were oblivious as to why siding with Assad might be a bad thing is one thing. I mean, it's beyond ludicrous. But this also shows you how dangerous and idiotic the Twitter rabbit hole can be. This much analysis, time, thought, attention, and manpower is placed into one tweet, and they still get it horribly, fatally wrong. Global News reported this tweet as an accident. You know, there are no mistakes, just happy little accidents, right? The mainstream media just took McKenna at her word, and McKenna counted on the fact that the mainstream media would unflinchingly accept her pathetic excuse. Not us here at The Rebel. It is our job to hold politicians to account and not be their undeclared press secretaries like they are in the mainstream media. But getting access to these document packages to fact-check liberal baloney is pretty expensive. Frequently, our requests for information are denied or slowed down, and we have to lodge appeal after appeal just to get things that under law we are all entitled to see. And we do something the mainstream media doesn't tend to do. We publish our original source documents so you can see them too. Now, if you can help cover some of the costs associated with filing all these access to information requests, you can make a donation today at rebelinvestigates.com. For the Rebel.media, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. Asking questions of this secretive liberal government is our job, but it is not inexpensive. It costs a lot of money to get access to information documents. To help us cover the cost to bring you the truth, go to rebelinvestigates.com.